I'm so happy to be here. This morning I was in Paris and now I'm in Toronto, so life is good. Okay, so thanks to Miles, it's functioning because, and to Danny, it's functioning because I had trouble with my computer when I landed today. So I'm not sure of one thing. Maybe some words will be misspelled because I was working on my laptop on the plane just to check to make it very precisely accurate to what's going to happen tonight. But because I had my problem with my computer, I didn't have time to check every word spelled. So if you see something wrong, just let me know. Okay, so we're going to talk about winning the media battle, which is really the topic I want to discuss with you tonight. We are facing many kinds of wars. I'd like to discuss this with you tonight before entering the Aldera story. Let's talk about Israel. Israel is facing real wars. You know, the Arabs started and tried to destroy the state of Israel with real wars, 48, 56, 67, 73. They tried and they realized that it was not possible for them to destroy the state of Israel. So afterwards they decided to try the terrorism. And it worked at the beginning, but at the end, by the end, Israel defeated terrorism. So they found a third way, which is much more powerful, and the media war. And I must tell you something wrong, is that the media war, Israel lost it at this time. It's not even that they lost it, they've not even been engaged in this battle, because in order to have a battle, you need to have two people fighting, but Israel is not even fighting yet. And the Western world, we're not having real wars, but we still have terrorism, and we mostly gained this war. And we also have the media war, and I'm sure you're aware of that. Maybe you're the worst country for this war, I mean, to argue that there is a media war, because you are the best country in the world in terms of politics. So, but I must tell you, when I'm here, you know, just like, okay, I'm coming to the real free country, the real free land, where the truth is in the media. You know, it's the only country in the world where I'm really invited on TV, you know, to have a debate. Not only on Jewish TVs or Jewish radios, all the media are interviewing me, and I really appreciate it. So it's also because you did a great job to, I would say, evangelize people and make them understand the truth. So thank you for what you've been doing. So I decided to fight the media war. And in the media war, in 2000, I used to be at that time a stockbroker, and a businessman. And I saw this picture. I was shocked, like everybody, and I thought it was the truth, that the Israelis killed the boy. I couldn't imagine it was not the truth. But I'd like to tell you, what is it? What is Aldera? So it's September 2000, September 30th, 2000, so it's like almost 14 years ago. It was the beginning of the second Intifada. It really started that day, the day after, and it was the year before 9/11. Some people argue and will tell you, well, the second Intifada started with Ariel Sharon's visit on the Temple Mount, but it's not true, because if you look at the newspapers the day after, there was no riots, nothing. It was just throwing stones. But the day after that, we had synagogues burning everywhere in the world. We had Jews killed on the spot. And it was a real war. And it was the year before 9/11. It's really important for you, and I'm sure that you're aware that if you look at newspapers, the day before, the weeks before September 30th, 2000, the world was different. It was not Islam which was causing troubles everywhere in the world. Now when you're reading newspapers, and I would say especially when you're reading it in Europe, either it's Islam in Spain, Islam in France, Islam in Middle East, Islam in Asia, everywhere. So it's really started the real jihad. So who made it? It's an Arab cameraman whose name is Talal Abu Rahma. He's an Arab cameraman living in Gaza, working for France 2. And at that time he was also working for CNN. And he sent first his material to CNN. And CNN was never seen as a pro-Israel channel. But when they got the material, they realized it was not real, and they refused to broadcast it. But at France 2, there is a guy whose name is Charles Underlin. He's a French-Israeli Jew who made Aliyah 40 years ago, and who said, well, that's a great film. he decided to edit it and put his voiceover, to broadcast it, and to offer it to all the TVs in the world for free. So he gave the biggest coverage. But the main problem is it's a fraud. It's a blood libel of our generation. So we've been now through, so I didn't have the time to change. It's not 11 years now, it's 12 years. 12, I have to change this for tomorrow. So 12 years of lobbying and political battles to reach what we went today. And of course, I had a legal battle which is not over, and I'm still fighting and having this legal battle. So let me show you how we will proceed. First, I will show you the worldwide impact of Al Jazeera. Then why Al Jazeera is a fraud. Then on May 2013, almost 13 years later, I only got there to the official Israeli report which supports me. It took me 12 years and a half to get it. It's a very long time. Then I'll tell you about the trials and my strategy to win the media battle. And of course, your questions, my answers, and your suggestions, because I'm always ready to listen to your recommendations, because this battle, as some people said just before there when we were drinking a glass of Coke, it's not my battle, it's a battle of all the people who want to live in a free world with the free real information in the media. So let's take a look at the worldwide impact. So first you had people in France, as soon as it was broadcast, who said, look, this picture erased the picture of the Jewish boy in the ghetto of war. So, which was telling us, look, the new Jews are the so-called Palestinians, and Nazi are the Israelis, you know. So for them it was a way to I would say, to be to demonize the Jews, but I would say to be forgiven. You know, when you give weapons to the Jews, they are becoming Nazis as well. Then you had the lynching of the 2 soldiers in Ramallah. When they were lynching the soldiers, they were screaming, Ad-Dura, Ad-Dura, Ad-Dura. It was just 2 weeks later, so they were taking the revenge. Then you had postage stamps. You see postage stamps from Iran, Sudan, but also Jordan and Egypt. All the Arab Muslim countries had them. You see this dress, beautiful woman, beautiful dress, the tanks, the blood, everything, and the boy and the father here. Then you had Bin Laden, who used it in his recruitment tape prior to 9/11. Okay, I don't want to brainwash you, so I stop it now. So you had also guys like Marwan Barghouti, you see, stop killing Palestinian children, you see, the boy and the father, when he was giving interviews. You had buildings like that. You see the size of this building, so it's really everywhere in the Muslim world. Daniel Pearl, you know, 12 years ago, Daniel Pearl was killed in Pakistan, and before killing him, they justified the killing with the death of Mohammed Abdurrah. You will see part of the video. You will not see the ugly scene, but you will see when he was saying that he's a Jew and how they put the picture of the boy and the father.
Der amerikanische Journalist Daniel Pearl war Jude. Seine Henker zwangen ihn, Israel als Kindermörder anzuprangern. Wenige Minuten später trennten.
You see? So they put it in the middle and on the back here. And then after they cut his throat. Ministry of Health, Martyr Mohammed Abdurrah, it's in Gaza. You see, this is a Hezbollah flag. You can see the size of this little girl, so you can imagine the size of this poster, you see. They put a soldier here and the boy and the father. You know Bamako, the capital of Mali in Africa? This is the Times Square of Bamako, the boy and the father. And you know what happened 2 years ago in Toulouse? A rabbi, his kids, and a young girl were killed by Mohamed Merah. Thanks. And the Arab guy who killed them, before being killed by the French police, said that he did it as a revenge, to take a revenge for the Muslim children killed in Gaza. And a few days later, then his friends went on TV and said that he wanted to take a revenge on Mohammed Abdullah. So really, you know, so what we have to understand is that Mohammed, why am I showing you this now? Because, you know, as I've shown you, it took me so many years to get the Israelis involved. And why? Because they were telling me, we don't care, nobody cares about that. And I was telling them, no, it's killing. It has been killing and it's still killing. And it killed, even recently, 2 years ago in France, French Jewish citizens who had nothing to do with Mohammed Adura, So now, let me show you why it's a fraud. So first, it's a scientifically proven fraud. It's corroborated by experts' opinion. We had ballistic experts, forensic scientists, graphologists, and biometricians, people who compare faces. Our sources have never been contested, the major one being France 2's material. We've been using their own material to show that it's a fraud. And they were pioneers. It's very important to understand that I'm not the one who discovered the fraud, It has been discovered by an Israeli scientist whose name is Nahum Shachaf. He's an Israeli scientist who really discovered like 2 or 3 weeks later. He came to the Israeli establishment, but nobody wanted to listen to him. And he was completely discredited, and he was not able to convey the message inside the state of Israel. So 2 years later, when I came across his conclusion, and when I realized it was not possible for him to break through in Israel, I tried in France. And I was aware of this because of Esther Shapira. She's a German filmmaker, and she made a documentary she made a first documentary on ARD, and this is why you heard German before, in 2002, where she just said that the boy was killed by the Arabs. And then I went to see her in Germany many times, and I said, I'm sorry, but I don't think you're right. You should look at all this material. And then she finally understood, and when I won my first big trial, she issued a second documentary on ARD, a 52-minute documentary, where she agreed that it's a fraud. And there is also a professor, Richard Landis, who's been working during all these years in America. He's a teacher at the Boston University. We disagreed on many issues, but he's been useful in the case also for many years. So, of course, we have limited time, but I'm here until tomorrow afternoon, so it's not so limited. But I will try to squeeze my presentation in 40 minutes to be able to take all your questions at the end. Okay. So please don't interrupt me during the presentation. Keep all your questions for the end, and I will answer them. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. This is 50 seconds. The France 2 news report, which was aired on the TV all over the world, and starting by France 2. Please watch it. According to me, it's 50 seconds of fraud. Everything is fake. Please watch it.
15 heures, tout vient de basculer près de l'implantation de Netzarim dans la bande de Gaza. Les Palestiniens ont tiré à balles réelles, les Israéliens ripostent, ambulanciers, journalistes et simples passants sont pris entre deux feux. Ici, Jamal et son fils Mohamed sont la cible de tirs venus de la position israélienne. Mohamed a 12 ans, son père tente de le protéger. Il fait des signes, mais une nouvelle rafale. Mohamed est mort et son père gravement blessé.
Okay, so we're unlucky also because the screen doesn't go exactly perfect, but usually it works. You should see all the subtitles, but it's not really important. You've seen the ambience. They've been telling you, you got it? You got the message? Okay. So now the boy is supposedly dead and the father is injured. So let's take a look just at the France 2 version of the fact. And I'm telling you something. All of us, if we wanted, we could have had all this information at that time. And it was not, you don't need to go into sciences. It's just common sense. So just read it. First, they said that the Israeli soldiers were at a distance of 80 meters from the boy and the fathers. 80 meters, it's a short distance. It's very, very short. So let's listen to them. They say that the Israeli soldiers shot at them for 45 minutes before hitting them. I mean, we asked, I'm sure, I know I'm in a continent where people use guns, but, we asked ballistics and sharpshooters and all the soldiers, and all of them said at 80 meters, any trained soldier put all his bullets in this kind of target. Okay, so all his bullets. So now he's pretending that it took them 45 minutes to Israeli sharpshooters to shoot the boy and the father, which is like a 2 square meters target. Absurd. Then they said that the boy was shot and killed with 3 high-velocity bullets. And then the father was hit by 12 high-velocity bullets, and that he was grievously injured. Okay. So now, just with common sense, let's take a look at the last picture. 12 plus 3 makes 15. 15 high-velocity bullets, no blood, nowhere. No blood. Okay. Just like this. All of us should have understood. I'm like you, I was not aware, and I was, and I can tell you why we were not, because we were so shocked by the story that we didn't want even to look at the picture and say, okay, we just try to ignore this picture, because for us it was such an insult. It was too bad. So where was it? Where did it happen? Netzarim Junction, or where did it not happen? This is the crossing. Here is the Israeli stronghold. And here you have the wall, and the barrel here, and the boy and the father were here. And you see, it's very interesting here, because there is something, you can see the distance, but there is also the angle. You have the 30 degrees angle. So you will see afterwards why the ballistics are so important. But you see here the Israeli stronghold. Afterwards, I will show you some scenes which were filmed the same day at the same spot. They were filmed in this area. Same day, same spot. Let's take a look at them. Okay? Here. People were filming here, the Israeli compound. You see here? And here you'll see the Israeli flag. So the Israeli flag. So the Israelis are here. On our back we have the wall. So the boy pretends he's wounded. So an ambulance is called. Cameramen are coming, filming. The UN ambulance arrives. And look at this boy. Look at the boy here. He's so happy that his friend is wounded that he smiles and applauds. And you have a real soldier here. Could have been a good target for the Israelis, but they're not shooting at him. And here you have all the cameramen here who are filming fake scene. It's obvious it's a fake scene. Now let's take a look at this second scene. It's very interesting. You're going to see an ambulance coming, someone riding his bicycle, and you will see the guy, how he gets inside the ambulance. It's very interesting. You see the ambulance comes, the guy rides his bicycle, and here's the man doesn't need to be carried. He jumps inside the ambulance. Okay? Now, this is the most ridiculous, but look at that. You see? So the guy is not wounded at the end, at the beginning, but he's wounded at the end because you see, starts too fast. Okay, so this one is absurd. You know, when you watch TV, it never happens that you see someone receiving a bullet live. It never happens because the cameraman is never at the right time at the right spot. Never happens. So here you see you have this cameraman, and we are the cameraman of Reuters, and we're filming. So two cameramen are filming. Someone's running. You'll see what's the guy running, and look the way he jumps. Wow, wow, wow. Up he jumps, triple jump. Nobody's afraid. This guy pretends that he got the bullet. Nobody's afraid. So the ambulance arrives quite rapidly. Like 10 seconds, and look at that. Nobody's afraid. The guy received the bullet, but quite. And you will see on the right-hand side of the screen that some cameramen are not interested in, are not even filming because they are used to this. They're smiling here, turning their back. And here is the triple jump. Okay, just so you can tell me, why are you showing me? I'm showing you this for one reason. Sometimes when you ask friends and you tell them it's a fraud, they say, how dare you believe that it's a fraud? when it was war that they had the same spot. It was not war. It was Hollywood. You know what is Hollywood? Palestinian Hollywood. They were filming fake scene. And most of the time, what you're seeing on TV, when it's coming from this area of the world, most of the time it's fake, it's fabricated, and we've been used to that. And it's, I mean, you can talk and discuss with all of them. They tell you when they're behind closed doors. Not everything is fake, of course. They are having dead people. We have sometimes it happens, but most of the time it's fake. What you're seeing on TV. So let's take a look at the first scene of the France 2 news report. Remember, I told you, it never happens that someone gets a bullet live. But look, here's a cameraman. The France 2 cameraman is perfectly placed. Look, sorry.
Les Palestiniens ont tiré à balles réelles.
And here you have three ridiculous things. The first thing is that the cameraman is here. The second thing is that the ambulance arrives in 2 seconds. I'm sorry that Miles asked you to turn off your cell phone, because if you had your cell phone open, some of you would have received a phone call, and in case you receive a phone, it takes you more than 2 seconds to pick up your phone. But as far as the ambulance man, you get there in 2 seconds. And the third ridiculous thing is that Charles Underlin says the Palestinians shot live ammunition. It's ridiculous. With this information, we understand that sometimes they're not shooting live ammunition. You understand what I mean? So when you're hearing sometimes lots of machine gun noise in their film, it's because they're shooting blank. Okay, you want to watch it again? Look at that.
Les Palestiniens ont tiré à balles réelles.
Okay, so it's the ambulance. But France 2 was very good that day, and they were so proud they had a second cameraman filming the same scene from another angle. So 2 cameramen knew that something was going to happen, and look at that.
Notre caméraman, les voici.
The same guy, but 2 other ridiculous things. The first thing is that instead of being pushed towards the jeep, he jumps 1 meter on the other direction, whereas the bullet should push him towards the jeep. And when you look at the ambulance, you can see with the rear mirror view that the ambulance started even before he got the bullet. Look at that. You see here?
Notre caméraman, les voici.
Now he holds his right leg. He will be drowned on the floor, on the right leg. Of course, no blood on the floor. Then they will take him here, his right leg, no blood. And they put him on the stretcher on the right leg where he received the bullet, no complaint. Okay? So now let me show you who is the only source of the Al Dura news report, who's Talal Abu Rahma, the Arab cameraman. Let's listen to him and watch his body language and listen to him.
There were many bullets, right? Coming
Hundreds. Hundreds. Yeah, there is some bullets hit, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, look at the wall. There is a lot of bullets around the wall. You know, I counted 40. On the wall, only 40.
So first he said hundreds, then 40. Let's listen to him again.
I never saw shooting in my life like this.
45 minutes shooting in the ball.
So 45 minutes shooting on the boy at 80 meters, 100, 40. But let's take a look. Only 8 bullet holes on the wall. 8 after 45 minutes of shooting. Something very interesting. You see the round bullet holes here? Here? The round bullet holes is proof that the shooting is perpendicular, not coming from the Israeli angle. If it were coming from the angle of 30 degrees, you should see oval shapes, you know, and the bullets would scratch the wall. And the other interesting thing is, if the father received 12 bullets, it just stays like that, you know. 12 high bullets, it doesn't move a little bit from the angle. It's ridiculous, you know. We asked ballistic experts, and they told us that if someone seated like that received just 2 or 3 bullets, it's completely taken on the left side, not stays like that, okay? And you should see blood, of course. So you understand this problem with the ballistics. We know from this that all the bullet holes in the wall are coming from the Arab side, not from the Israeli side. So why would the Arab side shoot at the wall, if not to make an impression of the shooting? So now let's listen to him again.
We have evidence, the kind of the bullet, I film it, the kind of the bullet, we pick up The bullets from the wall.
So he picked up the bullets from the wall.
What bullet was it? What would you say? How long was it?
I don't know. You interviewed one from the general, he could tell you.
But the general claimed that no investigation took place.
France do collect it.
So you're doing a better investigation job than the police?
No, we have some secrets, you know, for ourselves. We cannot give anything, just everything.
Okay, so this guy is the only source. I mean, this liar, I mean, you understand, the guy, you know, at the trial, for example, when he says he got the bullets, you know, I said, I went to the French two lawyers, said, so maybe your client can bring the bullets now that they collected the bullets. No, we don't have the bullets, you know. All of this is lies, lies, and lies. And he's the source. So remember the angle here? You see? The angle of 30 degrees, and then the round bullet holes. So now, at the trial, because we were arguing with them, they brought written testimonials of people who pretended that they attended the scene. So let's read them. So the guy from AP said that Israeli soldiers were firing missiles. The ambulance man said that the plane was firing at them from overhead. And the guy from Abu Dhabi TV said that there were helicopters, Israeli snipers firing anti-tank missiles. So planes, helicopters, anti-tank missiles, everything, but no blood, no blood at all, you see. Everything is ridiculous. And these are the witnesses, and these are the sources of Karsenty. So, were the Alderas shot at Netherheim Junction? The question, were they really shot? They could have been shot and they could have been lying as well, but let's take a look. Let's listen to the father. Okay, so I'm sorry. So because you know we had to transfer the file from this to this computer. So here the father says that he got his 12 bullets. Okay, that's what you've seen before. But the 12 bullets, you see no blood anywhere. His legs perfect. And it's interesting, in the film he says that he got bullets on all his legs. So now let's take a look at the boy. The boy, you know, they claim that he was dead, but now it's 10 seconds after he died. Now the boy is dead. Let's watch it. And look at the father's face and the elbow of the boy. So you've seen the boy's elbows like that. He does this and turn his face, and the father is smiling. And on the left-hand side, you can see the tripod, of course, because on every war scene, you can see a tripod. He raises his elbow, the father smiles, despite the 12 bullets, and here's the tripod. And all these machine guns noise, ta 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 ta. And now I have 3 more ridiculous seconds, because now the boy is dead. Of course, he took a look, but he's dead. And look at that. You see? The tripod here. This document comes from France 2 raw footage. What can you see here? They left. A few seconds later, they left. And despite the 15 bullets which went through their bodies, there is not a single drop of blood on the wall. Okay, you can watch it again. You see the time code here that they're bringing to the court. Okay, that's ridiculous. Oh, now let's listen to the father now.
The first bullet hit him in the right knee.
So the first bullet hit him on the right knee. So he pretended that the first bullet hit his son on the right knee. So let's take a look. You see here, this is one of the last picture. You see, it takes more than 2 seconds to pick up the phone. Thank you. I needed you. Okay, so you see the legs of the father here. The right knee here, nothing. But here, can you see? Something red. It's a red handkerchief that the boy takes from his pocket and put to his stomach at the end to make people believe that he's bleeding at his stomach. You will see it later. But you won't see any blood stuff here. So now, remember, the father said that he received the first bullet on the right knee. So let's take a look at the autopsy of the boy. They pretend that this is the same boy at the hospital of Gaza.
Following the examination, it was clear that the bullet entered the body from the front and from above. The bullet entered the body in the abdomen and exited the body here. This wound was fatal. The second injury lies just beneath the chest, and the bullet exited through the left hip bone. This wound was also fatal because it shredded major blood vessels. The third injury in the left leg was relatively harmless.
The third injury on the left leg. So we have a problem here. The father tells us he gets on the right knee, and the autopsy tells on the left leg. And he says that 2 bullets came in and went out. You remember? So this is the last picture, after he took a look, put down, take a look at his back. 2 bullets came in and went out. You should see some blood somewhere, either here or here. Let's compare it with a real injury exit bullet, okay? Okay? This is what it looks like. When you compare, nothing, no blood anywhere. So, this day at the same spot, cameramen were filming fake scenes. The first scene is not authentic. Friends to sources are dubious, the cameraman and the people who testified for them. 45 minutes of shooting, 15 high-velocity bullets, no blood anywhere. The dead boy moved after he has died. And we have 50 more pieces of evidence. For example, we have the doctor who got the dead body at the hospital in the morning. He said that we have all the interview where he said, as I told you, I shrinked it to make it short, but he said that he got the dead body at 10 a.m. Okay, 10 a.m. he got the dead boy. But France 2 tells us that the film starts filming at 3 p.m. So which is the boy was alive at 8 a.m., dead at 10 p.m., dead at 10 a.m., alive at 3 p.m., then dead at 3:45, then alive at 3:46 because he was raising his elbow, then dead again at 3:47, but then alive again because he left the scene. It's just like, come on, you understand? It doesn't really make sense. So if you want to watch it again, we can watch it again and take a look at now that you've seen all the tricks, all the ridiculous things, let's watch it again.
15 heures, tout vient de basculer près de l'implantation de Netzarim dans la bande de Gaza.
The cameraman exactly on the right spot.
Les Palestiniens ont tiré à balles réelles, les Israéliens ripostent, ambulanciers, journalistes et simples passants sont pris entre deux feux.
Someone smoking. This guy is smoking here.
Ici, Jamal et son fils Mohamed sont la cible de tir venus de la position israélienne. Mohamed a 12 ans. Son père tente de le protéger.
You see, he's filming 45 minutes.
Il fait des signes.
But he cannot grab 1 second when the boy receives the bullet. Hop, he cuts.
Mais une nouvelle rafale. Mohamed est mort. Et son père gravement blessé.
Again, for those of you who have kids, when kids are playing that they're dead, they're doing this, okay? Exactly as he does, but I'm telling you something. If tonight, let's pretend your husband is reading too late and you're fed up with the light, you want to sleep like that, you cannot because you don't have your muscles cannot stay in front of your eyes. So when you're dead, it's not even possible at all. It's ridiculous. Everything is ridiculous in this scene. So I claim that the news report, the France 2 Al Jazeera news report, is a stage fraud. Okay? And before going further, I would like to know if there is in this audience someone who doesn't believe that Al Jazeera is a fraud. I'm asking you this question before going further, in case. Don't be shy. If there is someone who doubts, I'd like to know.
Based on what you presented today?
Yes, and on what you know. No, well, okay.
I'd like to hear the contrary.
Sorry?
I'd like to hear some contrary.
Well, everything is online and everything. I mean, we've been arguing with them for more than 13 years and a half now, and they never brought a single piece of evidence of their story. They've been hiding the raw footage for 8 years, and they are still hiding part of it. We've been putting everything on the table. So, I mean, if they had anything to show, to prove, no, you're doubting? No, I'm sorry, but DNA evidence doesn't make sense here, because how can you prove the boy who was filmed by friends too? Wait, I'm sorry, listen to me, please. The boy who's filmed by friends too, you don't have his DNA. You have been filming a scene with a boy. We had face comparisons, and for example, with the face biometricians who compared the face showed that, for example, that the boy at the morgue and the boy filmed by friends too are not the same. That's it. So but DNA, you need to really take the body. Even if you exhume the body of the boy, who's probably there is a boy who's in a grave. If you take a dead body, what can you prove? That maybe he was a son or had family relationship with the father, but you cannot prove that the way he died or whatever. You understand what I mean? So what I'm telling you here is that we've been putting this online and everywhere, lecturing, arguing. We never had any contradiction. And the only thing is character assassination against me, saying I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist and all this stuff. So let's take a look at the official Israeli report. It finally came out more than 10 years after 10 years of intensive lobbying. I told you, it has been very, very difficult to raise awareness inside the Israeli establishment, because none of them wanted to raise the issue again, and most of them believed that it was a closed issue. So it was very difficult to make them understand that it was very, very important in the Muslim world. It was a very important objective reached because, and you'll see it later when I'll show you my trials, but at the first trial when I lost, it was written 5 times in the verdict that Karsenty is wrong because the Israeli government doesn't give credit to what he says. And at that time it was true. I can give you examples. For example, the Israeli ambassador to Paris, whose name was Danny Sheikh, I don't know if you heard the name. The guy refused to shake my hand when we met in Paris because he was a close friend of Charles Underlin. So he said, Karsenty is a conspiracy theorist. I don't argue, I don't even say hello to this kind of guy. So that's why it was very difficult. And the report came to the same conclusion as ours, and that was really, really important, that to have the Israeli official government to say, now we agree, this is not the truth. This is the first page. It came from the state of Israel. It was given to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So let's talk about the trials. November 2004, I had to publish my article. Why? Because for 2 years I've been arguing with friends too, telling them it's a fraud, and they were not even listening to me, not even responding. First I had meetings with them, but then they were not even giving me chances to discuss with them. So I published an article which was very provocative, and in my article it was written, if you want to sue me for defamation, here is my address, please sue me. And thank God they sue me. So I had the trial, September 2006. It went very well. At the end of the trial, the government advisor said Karsenty is right. He brought enough evidence of the staging. He should be found not guilty. But remember, we live in France, which is a strange democracy. And at that time, President Chirac was there. And a letter of President Chirac was sent to Charles Underling saying that he was such a great journalist. And it was used by the court, at the court. And then a month later, I was found guilty of defamation. I immediately appealed, and on September 2007 we started the trial. And the raw footage that you've seen, France too always have hidden them, and they've claimed that when we were arguing with them, telling them it's a fraud, and they were saying, oh, you wouldn't say that if you had seen the 27 minutes raw footage that we have, which shows that it's a real document. You can see the agony of the kid and all this stuff. So we're arguing and trying to get it. I got it through different ways, but the court ordered them to bring the tape. At the beginning of the trial, they interrupted the trial and said, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. We interrupt the trial, and we want France to bring the 27 minutes tape. So 2 months later, France 2, instead of bringing 27 minutes, they brought only 18 minutes. So they tampered with the evidence, they deleted 9. And on these 18 minutes, you could only see what you've seen here, the boy raising his elbow, and other fake scenes with people talking to the camera, so nothing which substantiates their claim. And then we had a final trial on February 2008, and it lasted for like more than 7 hours. It was a big discussion. I was showing films and they were arguing, and I was found not guilty of defamation on May 2008. So it was a very, very substantial victory. I was very happy. But a week later, a French journalist issued a petition signed by a few hundred, like maybe 500 to 600 journalists, signed a petition saying that Charles Anderlin is such a great journalist and that I'm a crazy guy and that the boy was really killed by the Israelis. I mean, a crazy story. It was signed by, I would say, most of the French journalists, some Jewish intellectuals, and a former speaker of the Knesset whose name is Avraham Burg. I don't know if you know the name. He signed the petition in support of the fraud. And a year later, Nicolas Sarkozy offered the Legion of Honor to Charles Anderlin, the guy who made the fraud. And instead of accepting the fact that it was a fraud, France too went to the French Supreme Court to have the verdict annulled. And 4 years later, the French Supreme Court annulled the verdict. And the reason, they said, the Court of Appeals didn't have the right to look at the raw footage. So on the first trial, I didn't have the raw footage, so I was found guilty. Then I was able to have the raw footage, so I wasn't found not guilty. But the court said, no, you don't have the right to look at the raw footage. So it was sent back to another Court of Appeals. It was a second appellate trial. It went very well. Honestly, I did a great job. You know, it was like, I even reconstructed, I'm seriously, I took architects, we reconstructed the whole scene, we built everything. So the judge could see where were the soldiers. Everything was done. The verdict was expected on April, and the judge said, we're sorry, we cannot give the verdict. So it was postponed to May. I came back. May, we're sorry, we cannot give the verdict. So we understand that there were lots of political pressure. And on June 2013, I was found guilty of defamation and had to pay 11,000 euros to France too. And it's interesting, when I'm telling you that there was lots of political pressure, it's because the judge who ruled in my favor in 2008, a few months later, she was in a cocktail party and she was a little drunk. And a friend of mine came across her and said, oh, you did a really great job at this trial, and when you ruled in favor of Karsenty, and she said, oh, you can imagine the pressure I had to rule against him. I got the pressure from the journalists, from the minister, from the member of the parliament. Everybody was against me. And they said, if you don't rule against Karsenty, we will ruin your career. And she said, but I didn't care because I was retiring 3 months later. So I can tell you, I know what kind of pressure they were receiving. So I was found guilty of defamation. So I had to pay $11,000, which is about $14,000. Just after I appealed to the French Supreme Court, but I can tell you that it will not succeed. I know that I will lose because I really understand the way it works now in France. So they really have decided to make me lose, but the game is not over. I'm sure some of you know the Middle East Forum, Daniel Pipes. So he's the man who's been helping me for some times, and he decided to pay the fine. So I was very happy. Even though the trials cost me a lot, for so many years, but the fact that I didn't have to pay the money for this I was very grateful to him. And he's the one who's helping me to pay the following trials, and he's collecting the funds for me. It's a 501c3 in America. And in 2014, I can tell you that we will need to appeal to the European Court of Human Rights because I know that in France, I will not be able to win. The French legal system is completely rooted, corrupted, and the French society is completely corrupted. There is no intellectual dignity in France. So winning the media battle, which is the title of my presentation, why do we need this media battle? First, because it's on monuments, it's on stamps, streets, it's in history books, it killed and it still kills. And the good news I can tell you came also from Canada, and I forgot, because of the story with my computer, I forgot to bring it here. But the first time a history book published that it's a fraud, it was in Canada, and it was published in Montreal a few months ago. A history book for third grade, like 17 years old, Yes, 17 years old children on high school. It's written in the book. There is one full page which explains why it's a fraud and how we can prove it's a fraud. It's the first time that we can reverse it in a history book, and it is in Canada. So we have a great country. And I want to tell you, it's not a French story. You're here, you know. It's a global blood libel. It's a global blood libel of our generation. It's everywhere in the world. Go anywhere in the Muslim world, show them this picture. Just mention Mohammed Abdullah, and you'll realize that all of them know it. All of them know this picture. It's the trigger of the global jihad in 2000. Really, it started everything with this. It's about some Western journalists completely. It's about the useful idiots of our enemies, really. Because you have to understand one thing. If the Arab cameraman is there in Gaza and film his fake story, if he's alone, if there is not a Jewish guy in Israel working our French public TV, which give his kosher stamp and say, this is true, this is valid, there is no blood libel, there is no lie. It's exactly the same thing with the Goldstone report. They went and they looked for a Jewish guy to demonize Israel. They always need this kind of stuff, and they need the Western media and the Western propaganda. And it's about fighting the lies in the media. It's really important. And it's the global blood libel of our generation. It's everywhere in the world. Okay, so my objective is to definitely win the legal battle, but it's going to be very difficult. To send a message of truth spread to the whole world, to raise awareness of the public opinion about the lies in the media in general. It's very important that people understand that the media are not telling them the truth, not only about Israel, but look at any kind of topic where you're an expert. I know if you're an expert on any your profession, you know that when the media are dealing with it, they're not very professional most of the time, and it's really important for people to raise awareness about that. And it puts them on defensive. They have to justify their assertion when they're lying. So, upon receiving the Israeli official report, Benjamin Netanyahu said there is only one way to fight lies, and that is with the truth. I'd like to ask you, do you agree with Benjamin Netanyahu's message upon receiving this report? You disagree? Yeah. I think, yeah. Okay. So are you ready to help us to win this historical battle? Are you ready? So tomorrow morning I will be there at 8 a.m. Okay, in case you want to tell people to come there, you can even also, you'll get my email. You'll be able to send me an email and I'll give you the details. And between Friday, April 25th and Tuesday, April 29th, I will be speaking in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you have people in this environment that you know who could be interested. And I'll be back in North America next summer in case you know areas who could be interested by the message. Thank you very much.